Okay, so I accidentally ended the live, and I did not mean to do that at all. So I hope y'all join me. So I accidentally ended the video. I did not mean to do that. Thank you for joining again, Liz. I was like, wait. I was trying to invite people and I accidentally ended the video when I didn't mean to do that. That's what happened. Liz, I need to come visit you guys. So much to update you on. Hey, Weenie. I accidentally ended the video. I did not mean to do that. Thanks for joining again. I was like, oh man, now I'm going to have to wait for you guys to come back because I accidentally ended the video. I know, Liz, I am doing too much. I'll try to do better. Look, I'm new at this Facebook Live. You know, I haven't been on Facebook in like a very long time. So, I'll work on doing better. I hope you guys are sharing and inviting people to join. I'm not going to accidentally end the video. I'm learning how to close out the chat. Hey, Asia. So, yeah, I accidentally ended the video. Yvette! Hey! I'm so glad you can join. Yvette, make sure you share. Ask people to join. Hey, Ron. Long time no hear, no see, stranger. The last time I saw you, I probably was like 10. Weenie, do I look mean still? I'm trying not to, but I can't keep smiling because my cheeks are going to start hurting. I love you too, Evie. Yeah, I had to do this video because I see some stuff on social media and I'm like, it's a little triggering for me. So I'm about to get my notes out and I'm going to start because I'm not trying to be on here all night. Thanks for sharing and liking. But I want to thank everybody for actually taking time out of their hectic schedule because most of y'all on here got kids, so I know y'all could be doing anything else besides watching me post a video. And I really wanted to talk about the difference between depression and sadness because a lot of times it gets really mushy, and I don't think that people actually understands what the difference is because I see people using the words interchangeably. And sometimes it's a little triggering for me. I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell if I can't officially diagnose someone, but I do know the symptoms and that there's a big difference between the two. So my hope is that everyone will be a little more cognizant when they use the word depressed, when they may actually be feeling sad. Because I think when people say they're depressed and they may be sad, it actually diminishes the illness. And that's something that's a little pet peeve of mine. Because I know the struggle that I had to go through to even overcome it, and I'm still battling it, but I'm much better than I was doing last year. So when I actually started looking up some information, hey Darnell, sorry y'all, hey cousin. When I actually started looking it up, so sadness, of course, is like a normal emotion that we all experience if something happens in our life, whether it could be, I'll actually read the politically correct definition. Sadness is a normal human experience. We all experience, and sadness is usually triggered by a difficult, hurtful, challenging, or disappointment event. So in other words, we could be sad about something. So typically with sadness is when something happens and the situation changes, you easily get over it. So for instance, you may lose your job and you may be sad about it, but when you get a new job, you're like back to your normal self. That's typically what it does for sadness. So, or I've seen people write things on Facebook or sometimes say things in person like, "Oh, Darnell, I'm going to call you so we can talk privately." So people have said things like, "Oh, my boyfriend left me for the weekend. I'm depressed," or my TV show is not coming back till next season. I'm depressed. I'm like, y'all, stop using the word, because if your TV show isn't coming back, I'm pretty sure you're not depressed over that. Or if the store doesn't have your favorite kind of chips, I'm pretty sure you're not depressed over that. So I find that people just use the term really loosely, and so the difference is that with depression, versus depression is typically, it actually doesn't go away. Like if someone says, "Oh, like let's go out for a walk," and a depressed person, they may go for a walk, but the walk is not really going to make them feel better, especially if it's chronic depression. So I'll give the actual definition for depression because I want to make sure that I get it right. So of course, depression is abnormal emotion, and it's a mental illness, and it affects everything that you do, from your emotions, your perceptions, your behavior, everything that you do. So it doesn't necessarily require a particular event that happens in your life. A death in the family or a loss of a job could trigger a depression, but the thing is, with depression, it's typically zaps all of your energy. So you have absolutely no energy. No matter what you try to do, nothing works. So the way that you could really tell is if you have big changes that happened in your life. So for instance, say if you find that you're eating a lot more than you normally eat. That's a change. And that could be a sign that you are going into a depression. Or if you don't enjoy the things that you usually enjoy, like say, for instance, if you like playing sports, if you like working out, hanging out with family and friends, baking, anything that you usually find pleasure in, if you don't find pleasure in it anymore, that could actually mean that you may be in a depression as well too. And so even though a depressed person could experience, one of the things that they experience is like sadness and loneliness. And so a depressed person do experience sadness, but the thing is, it's like lingering. It actually never goes away, even though your circumstances may change. So you could have the job, you could have the money, you could have the house, you could have the car, you could have all of those things and still be depressed, because it is a chemical imbalance in your brain. And so typically what that is I think in a okay, the video was messing up, but yeah, so serotonin is it's one of those, it's called the feel-good chemical, or that's what most people call it, and it's typically the chemicals that's released during in your brain during exercising, TMI for some people, I'll leave that for married people, sex, all of that. That's typically the chemical that's released through in your body. And so when you're depressed, you actually have a smaller amount of serotonin in your body. And so that's why some people may need medication, like I did in my case. For about a little over a year, my serotonin levels were extremely low. So I had to actually start taking medication to help balance, to balance out the levels. So that's typically how you know if you're the difference between depression and sadness. And I actually want people to actually ask questions that you may have. Darnell, I saw your question. I'll answer it briefly, but I'll prefer to call you to talk about it. One of the things that you can, I think, Darnell, since this is very, very early, you just lost your mom today. So it's normal to experience sadness because you have to go through the stages of grief. So it's not going to go away like tomorrow. You just have to go through the process. I would urge you that if you find that you're remaining sad as the months start to pass too long, like you can't get out of bed. That was one of the things that I couldn't do. I literally felt like I had tons and tons of bricks on top of my body, and I could not get up out of bed. I stopped cooking. I stopped showering. Like I was basically glued to my bed. And so if you find you're getting to that point where you're like, you're not enjoying the things that you used to enjoy, you're isolating from people. Liz knows that, because when I really started to go into my depression, I isolated from everybody. I didn't talk to anybody at all. So if you find that you're doing some of those things that's not normal for your everyday behavior, then you may want to see a therapist. And even if you aren't depressed, it's still okay just to go see a therapist to talk about everyday stressors. But I think when a person is depressed, the stressors are like amplified. Like everything seems like it's so big. Hey, why are you guys sending all the sad? I hope it's RIP sadness for Darnell's mom. But I think when you start, one of the things that you could really start doing, just to go to therapy every week or however often you need to just actually talk about it. Liz says she's a therapist advocate. Yeah, you should be. I encourage everybody to go to. You don't have to have a mental illness to go to therapy at all. Because for me, I know when I was depressed, every little stressor was like amplified. It could be the smallest things, and it could be the smallest things. So I think one of the things that you can do to help you get through mental illness or everyday stressors is find those things that actually help you relieve stress. And for everybody, it's different things. So for one of the things that I do, like I've been getting up every single morning for almost a month because I'm doing my best to get back on track, is working out every day in the morning, at least Monday through Friday, because I find that when I work out, again, it goes back to my body releasing the levels of serotonin to make me feel balanced, because I know I have to be very mindful. If I want to be able to function every single day, I have to be balanced. So exercising is one of those things, especially because I'm not relying on the medication anymore. I'm managing my anxiety and my depression on my own. Hey, Auntie Ree. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I didn't want to make the video too long, but I really wanted to just do a quick video for people to understand the difference between sadness and depression, and just really understand that while they can be similar, they're not the same. So that's pretty much all I have. I would be more than glad to answer questions if anyone may have them. And I'll be sure to share some links that I have as well. Oh, and actually another thing that happens when a person is particularly depressed, they sleep a lot. They may sleep a lot or not sleep at all. It's typically a change. So I found that I was like on the opposite spectrums of both last year. I was either like sleeping for days or I was like not sleeping at all. So typically it's when it's a change. I'm going to share this link that was on Bustle. And that will also, and it's an article that talks about the differences between sadness and depression. A big thing for me is if you're struggling with self-harm thoughts, so obviously suicidal thoughts, and that was like a big red flag for me, because when I was depressed, that's all I thought about, like all the time. I could be at, well, when I eventually had to stop working, but whether I was at work, in my car, it was always, I kind of thought about the same thing over and over for probably like 8 months at a time until I actually had my attempt. So if you're struggling with those, that's like a, if you may not have, Liz says she recommends watching the movies Brain on Fire. It's about mental illness. So if you may not have, you may be like, so it's typically a change. You may be sleeping too much, sleeping too little, eating too much, not eating enough, isolating from people, struggling with suicidal thoughts, or thinking about harming yourself or somebody else. Those are typically like the big signs to know that if it's a depression, opposed to you just being sad about something happening in life. Delisa, the video's over, but thanks for joining. So yeah, that's about it. I want to open the floor for questions, and I'll stay on for a few minutes, but thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. And I'll make sure that I share the links. I'm going to share the link right now, the difference between sadness and depression. And it also includes the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. If there's anyone who may be struggling with suicidal thoughts or know someone who is struggling with suicidal thoughts, they can call the national hotline, and it's anonymous. And they can also, they'll give them resources to be able to find a therapist, or they can go to the nearest hospital. And I will share the link to Bustle so you guys can have it. Thanks you guys so much for watching. I'm still going to leave my live up for a minute, so if you guys want to ask questions, feel free to do that. Thank you guys for sharing and liking and loving and all that jazz. It really means a lot to me. I'll be doing more Facebook Live videos, actually once a week. Let me know if 7 p.m. works for most of y'all, or you guys 7:15, or typically it'll be a Monday through a Thursday thing. So just comment and let me know what days and what times particularly work best for you guys, so I can know when is the best time to do my live videos. I'm sharing a link right now so you guys can So I just shared the link to Bustle, and it talks about 6 ways to tell the difference between suicide and depression.